King Richard, following the life of Richard Williams, the I guess somewhat controversial father to Serena and Venus Williams. This movie is directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green, up and coming director. But I mean, really, the story is Will Smith in this role. Seems like a real star turn. Seems like potential Oscar worthy performance. Maybe we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk
How
about the
was
Oscar stuff at the end, but
Yeah?
Best Actor nomination, that's happening.
You think so?
Oh yeah,
So,
easily.
did you like
Lock
the
it in.
movie? Did you
I
like
did
King
like it.
Richard?
I thought it was awesome, honestly. It doesn't necessarily wow you with being something you haven't seen before, but it's just there. I think so much of it's really well done and executed on, and there's a few key decisions that the way they were made really prop up the film. I liked it a lot.
I thought it was really good. I don't know if I would say that it was everything I was hoping it would be. But I definitely thought I thought the movie had more heart than I was expecting, and it's not necessarily like a classic biopic. Um, in like the sense of like it follows a person's life throughout the years. This is like a pretty specific period of time. Venus's rise to prominence, or like the start of her like rise to prominence, I guess.
Yep,
Um, and really, it's more of like a family story than anything,
exactly.
which is why it works for Will, obviously. But go ahead, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, it's a family drama first, not really a biopic, right?
Mhm.
It has biopic qualities, tendencies, but it's really just a snapshot
Mhm.
of the journey here, and becomes more of a Venus Williams movie once we progress, about a third, halfway through. But as you said, the, the heart of it really lands, and all that's all buoyed by I think Will's performance as Richard Williams, where he's nailing it from what I know from the footage I've seen of Richard Williams. It's Will's kind of hunched over a little bit, kind of talking with a Louisiana drawl. His hair doesn't look the best, yet it's still Will Smith. There's still a twinkle in his eye that few people have. And I think he just sells it all so well.
Yeah,
The way Richard Williams acted, I mean, it's all very, very, very reminiscent, I guess. You know, and I really like how the movie tries to take back that narrative that had been around Richard Williams, right? It's like the crazy sports dad. I mean, he came up a little bit before. You get like Earl Woods, Tiger Woods' dad. It became a common thing at this time, in the mid to late '90s. But Richard Williams, even though he definitely had some antics and he definitely uh, said some things in a way only he could, he also was a really dedicated guy. And I really loved how the movie honed in on that. But it wasn't just him either. His the mother, his wife as well, key part.
yeah,
And it doesn't sideline her and make her just like the antagonist or the supporting figure, and that's it. She also has her own qualities in the story. So yeah, like like you said, it's not really a biopic. Kind of is, kind of a sports movie at the end anyway. But the family stuff is what seems to be our through line here, and I think it really works.
and I think you really got to why I think this movie worked. And that's Anjanou Ellis playing Oracene Price, Brandy. Um, I just thought her presence in the movie really hit home the family aspect, and the family aspect is what I loved. Obviously, I think Will gives a good performance. Um, I think if it had just been about him and the girls, it would have been grating to the. It would have been a bit grating at some points, and I think
He definitely had a
Oracene,
grading tendencies as a person, as a character, right? That much is clear.
yeah, for sure. But I think Oracene really like that scene of them like fighting in the kitchen or in the house after he decides that Venus isn't going to play or something like that, where they really have it out, and she points out that it's not just your sacrifice. This wasn't just your plan. Like, I'm part of this too. I think really hammers home uh, w- why this movie is good. It's because it's not about necessarily Venus. It's not about Serena. The other daughters are, I think, even more fun than those two are at times. Like the way that they're supporting their sisters and joking around with them and playing around, like them in the camper. Like these moments are really what made, or at least the message that they're trying to get across, what made these two successful is that they had this strong family nucleus that supported each other all the way and were each other's biggest fans. I think Richard obviously was the driver and like the decision maker a lot of the time. But I just think if it had just been about him, it would have been not as effective. So, um, you know, going back to Will's performance, I do think he like transforms, which certainly means he probably is going to get the Oscar nomination. I don't know. I feel like some of the like emotional moments, like I almost feel like he was a bit like subdued in
Hmm,
ways, and that was probably a choice. I think that was probably like he pulled back a little bit, kind of like the dad in like a little bit like toned down like dad of Pursuit of Happiness a little bit in this,
sure.
but um
Or he was Oscar nominated.
yes. So he probably, I mean, you're probably right. The Oscar nomination is probably coming, but I just thought he was a little bit less Will Smithy than usual, and maybe that's why he will get nominated. But I was like, something feels like it's missing here to me.
Huh, interesting.
I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
I've
that was really
seen
good.
I've seen really strong reviews of his performance, so I have no doubt he will be nominated. Um, Tell me what you thought about our guy John Bernthal, though. Gets a pretty meaty role here.
Yeah, it was Rick Macy, is it? The
Yeah.
second coach, the soccer guy. I mean, nice little nods there when he comes in, right? Referencing Andy Roddick working with
Hmm.
his crew at that point. Yeah, I thought he was good. It's nice to see Bernthal just kind of being a good, genuine guy for once. We always suspect the worst with his characters more often than not, whether he's being
Hmm.
a outwardly bad guy or at least someone operating in a moral gray area. So
Yeah.
I thought he was great. Really, he's a charismatic presence. He really is a star, and I loved his dynamic with Richard too, because again, the movie does such a good job of like highlighting people's like frustrations with Richard, but Richard still gets it done at the end of the day, and like, I think nothing shows that better than Richard whipping around the golf cart. A few scenes once you're introduced to the academy, is
Yeah.
owning the place.
Well, what were the scenes that stood out to you most? Like, I love Bernthal, by the way. I don't really have much more to say other than that. I
Yeah,
thought he was
he's
just
good.
great.
I love the scene at the country club with the agents, one of
Yeah.
which was played by Dylan McDermott, and I think a
Mhm.
great piece of casting. Love that. Um,
Where they're basically trying to buy her off,
yeah,
or
well, they're trying to get in early at a discount,
mhm.
hoping that they'll just take the money as soon as it's thrown at them, right? And I love how Richard handles that. I think the script is really well done because it doesn't beat you over the head that the sport of tennis is very white and very affluent and very inaccessible, and just the mere presence of the Williams sisters in the space is different and to some like an affront and unwanted and all that, right? And Richard has clear acknowledgement of that, but he doesn't necessarily say it, right? So I really love how they handle that in that scene. I also really like the scene later on where that first like Nike offer is presented in the hotel room before the big match,
Yeah.
and it's like 2 million or whatever, right? And again, the way it handles that, but then again, they pay it off, right? Because it could really build up Venus and like having her make the decision or at least outwardly say it. But I really like how they handle that stuff because there's a nice tact to it in the film.
Yeah, I agree about the shoe deal scene. I thought that was really good, and I thought it was played really well by Sania Sidney, who plays Venus in this. But just like the way she's sitting there and the conversation that Richard and her have, like, what do you want to do? Like, and really like putting out to her, and you see like the growth and like him actually like getting the message from the rest of the family that like he needs to be including everybody in these sorts of decisions. I just thought that was such a nice payoff. Um, I also really liked the ending scene, where they have this match where Venus gets iced out, and just seeing like Richard not watching or watching from the tunnel and then deciding to like go out and sit with the family as like Venus is having this, difficult game or the game not or the match not go her way. I just thought it was like a really like great choice. And obviously like supposed to be heartfelt, but just I thought hammered home everything that the movie was going for, which
Yeah.
is obviously family. So thought it was great.
Yep. I love how the tennis looked, honestly. You know?
Yeah, looked
Um
great.
they film a lot of like wide shots seeing the back and forth, and yeah, some of it's probably CGI assisted and stuff, but really compelling. Honestly, tennis in the movies not always done in a believable way, but like it actually looked like good tennis, and you kind of need that when you have some sports movie DNA in your film. Early on, I really like the tension about back in Compton where you have like the gang harassing them,
Mhm.
Will thinking about taking matters into his own hands, seeing the drive-by. But then when the Williamses get their success and the gang kind of rallies
Watching
around
out
them,
for him. Yeah.
right? Love that. When the first coach comes by and like the gang is like, "Who is this?" And Richard's like, "No, no, he's cool. He's just white." Like it's
Yeah.
great, But again, this did a really good job of kind of paying things off in each act. I feel like,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And um I really liked it. Just so Tony Goldwyn plays Paul
yeah,
Cohen, the first coach. I really liked his presence and his like back and forth with Richard a lot of the time, and always kind of like, "Are you kidding me, Richard?" And then like eventually being like, "Okay, like yeah, you're right." Like, I thought that was pretty good. Um, but also like when they first meet him and he just has Pete Sampras and what's his name, the douchebag guy.
McEnroe.
McEnroe, yeah, and McEnroe just a hothead, but I thought that was really really funny, and just like the little ways they would like throw those names out there. If you're like a big tennis fan, you kind of like tune into some of them. Jennifer Capriati kind of took some strays in this,
Oh,
like
I don't even know if they're strays at this point.
it's like
Those are like,
direct, I guess, but
yeah, sniper scope.
yeah, I thought that was kind of tough. Also, interesting that like Serena Williams, maybe the biggest tennis star in the world right now.
Mhm.
Kind
The
of
most
sidelined.
accomplished in the women's game,
Yeah.
you know, 23
This
Grand Slams, Venus had 7, Serena
yeah.
far surpassed her older sister in due
Mhm.
time. But as you're getting to, the movie doesn't really do much with Serena.
Yeah, this is a Venus story, and so Serena's just kind of on the edges, on the outskirts. I think you get one really satisfying scene where she like puts herself into a tournament without asking her parents and like is kicking ass, and that's kind of cool to see how they respond. But
Mhm.
yeah, just really on the fringes. Could you foresee a King Richard 2 or the story of Serena type of thing?
I, I'd say no. Interesting that the Williams sisters are producers on this film. You're always a little wary of seeing that stuff and thinking it might be a hagiography. But again, I thought they do a good job of not sugarcoating that. Richard was a flawed guy, right? But thing is, Will Smith is very tactical in his film choices, and I just don't think you would see the benefit to him to doing the role a second time. Um, Especially if you won for it, but also like in the compromised state movie going is in right now. This is coming out also on HBO Max, but it's an adult drama. This is not going to make a lot of money unless it like has a huge awards run, which we haven't really seen that happen yet in COVID, so we don't really know what that looks like. So I don't know if like there's going to be like a compelling like thing. We need a sequel to this, right? I feel like it's just going to be like a really satisfying snapshot choice executed on by Will. And I'll be very happy with this, especially because it's a nice return from say something that didn't quite go as well, like Gemini Man. But yeah, I don't know. Don't you feel like there's not a whole lot to gain from doing this Serena movie either? Because you'd probably just kind of be running a lot of King Richard back.
Yeah, I mean, I heard some talk on some different podcasts, things I listened to about, oh, could this happen? I couldn't see that for Will. This isn't a franchise type role. This is more of a like Oscar grabby type role, which I think
Yeah.
we're kind of moving towards. So why would you, like you said, why would you run that back? Makes no sense. Um, you mentioned we're going to talk about Oscars here. I mean, I think you pointed out and made it a strong case. Definitely going to be nominated. Do you see any other nominations coming from this?
It's a great question. Anjana Ellis, perhaps in the mix. Definitely supporting performance. Those I think are there. I mean, it's probably in the mix for Best Picture. It's a rousing family movie, like it's popular.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think it'll be around. Honestly, I really do. Um, do I think it's a contender for Best Picture? Probably not. But it seems like we're gonna the duel for Best Actor is Benedict Cumberbatch in The Power of the Dog, which is coming out soon on Netflix, and Will Smith with King Richard. So you'll be seeing a lot of Will on the campaign trail, which is a good thing. He hasn't won an Oscar before. He's been nominated twice. Um, I would love it to be a his time thing, even if Cumberbatch truly is exceptional. I have no doubt that Cumberbatch will be around again in a buzzy role. But like Will Smith, Will Smith could use the Oscar, and I think it's more than earned with this one. So we'll be talking about King Richard. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I was just looking through, Will Smith's filmography here over the last couple of years, and he's been working fairly consistently.
Mhm.
Um, 2018
L-
didn't have any movies,
Yeah.
but
Last time he
what?
did something like this was, a good chunk of time ago with Concussion. So it's been a while.
Yeah, tell the truth.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm looking here. I mean, what was the last role you really liked him in before this? I mean, Bad
Well, he
Boys
was
for
an
Life.
exceptional in Bad Boys for Life. That was a complete
Yeah,
home run in terms of bringing
true,
back a franchise. He was awesome
true.
in that.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good as Genie.
Yes, surprisingly so. Yes, I loved him as the genie. Honestly, in Aladdin live
I
action.
know you were a big fan of Bright.
I still haven't seen Bright actually
No, I don't want to
on
watch it.
Netflix.
Just don't want to do it. Yeah, I'm just looking here. I mean, before that, uh, man, Karate Kid, 7 pounds. Like he had a tough run, but I feel like of late he's
Deadshot,
been,
Suicide Squad 1.
yeah, he's
Not
he's
his
been in some
fault. He's good
stinkers.
enough in that.
You wait, did you like the one where he's like trying to kill himself, Gemini Man?
Yeah, Gemini Man is really interesting because like Will's pretty solid in that, but like that was kind of Ang Lee getting a little lost in the own sauce,
Hmm.
focused a little more on the technological aspect of things, like the credible cameras he used to make it, and just so that like the movie could not actually be shown in its intended resolution in almost any screen in the country. Like, I think we could just scale it back, Will Smith, because like there's some really good action in Gemini Man, and Will's quite convincing in that. But overall, yeah, it's just okay. But it's cool seeing it at the theater anyway.
You know,
But
I'm just
he has a
looking.
big movie coming up next year, Emancipation.
I was just about to say, I'm
Fuqua.
looking here. We're gonna get back to back Will Smith nominations because this feels like the type of movie that if the premise that I'm reading here is how it actually turns out, could be Oscar baity as well. Might be a
Yeah,
little too actiony for a real Oscars run,
yeah.
but
Fuqua's a bit up and down these days, so well depends how it goes. But yeah, I want Will Smith to act as much as possible because he's at worst he's still going to be a movie star in your movie.
so uh, Tick Tick Boom. You think it has any outside Oscar nom
Yeah,
chances?
yeah. I'd say the best actor field isn't quite like stratified yet.
Hmm.
I don't know if Garfield is like the most deserving best actor I've ever seen, but like seems like he's in the greater mix at this time for that. Other than that, probably not. I feel like it's kind of in like that like second tier of movies with
Yeah,
award aspirations. So depends how it
maybe like
shakes
some
out.
music ones, maybe like best original song or something like that. Or are these even considered original songs? Probably
I don't
not.
think they are. Honestly, best original song is probably gonna go to that Beyonce song in King Richard.
That's true. Yeah. Well, King Richard. Expect to see a lot of it in the coming months.